I'm going to go ahead and start recording here. All right, so welcome. My name is Teresa Doherty. I'm the coordinator for Business and Information Technology programs here with Virginia Beach, and it is my pleasure to take you through this training for the Economics and Personal Finance course. So the way that we're going to do this is we have a live recording. We have some folks with us now who are taking this training live. However, it is being recorded for asynchronous purposes as well. So if you weren't able to join us live, that's not a problem. All of this will be uploaded into the Schoology group for Economics and Personal Finance, so you can check it out there as well. I do have this uploaded into Frontline too, so you can get some points for attending the training, whether you're doing it live or you're doing it asynchronously, and hopefully that'll help you along as well. So we're going to spend a little bit of time going through some of the resources, mostly Schoology, and the way that this works is if you've got questions, you can go ahead and plug those into the chat box. Everyone is muted with the exception of me. So if you've got things, go ahead and put them up there. And that way, it hopefully is a question that will be answered for more than one person. And also, we won't lose anything. So you can send it to me directly. You can send it to the group for everyone. I have it set up so that you could do either or. But I wanted to let you know that's kind of how we're gonna run. So, all right, let me get started by sharing my screen with you. All right, I think I'm probably gonna have to get over to, here we go. So hopefully you guys can see my screen and it's showing up as the Schoology group for Economics and Personal Finance. And this is the kind of the hub for where everything is. So all the information that you need, most of the communications are all going to go through our Schoology group. And I think now more than ever, being able to communicate effectively across distances is going to be incredibly important, not just for the communications between you and your students, but of course also between us as well, so that I can best support you. So for those who maybe are not super familiar with Schoology, this is just a group. Usually when you go to the group, it lands on this page as kind of like the home page. I don't put really much of anything up here. It's just kind of a welcome, and this you can actually see is from last year, and it just is a real brief, hey, this is what this course is about. And it used to be that we taught personal finance and economics separately. Last year we made an attempt to teach all personal finance first and then do economics on the second semester so that we would have more time to remediate. With the changes in the virtual learning, and I think everybody maybe is moving to 4x4, if my understanding is correct. So some of that I think is going to change, and we're just going to have to be a little more flexible and creative about how this information is shared with our students and how we kind of introduce all of it. So anyway, this just kind of gives you that overview. Same thing on the side. This Economics and Personal Finance class is a requirement for graduation. Tied to the course is the WISE Financial Literacy certification that goes with the course. I will show you when we get into resources that I did an essential training last year for this course. So there's a lot of the information that's in there, and that'll go through everything. This that we're doing today is really just kind of hitting the highlights and sharing stuff that's new for this year. So if you're interested in exploring a few more of the things that you may see on the screen as we're going through the training, feel free to go back to that one. It is also under the training and updates folder. So, and that will stay up there ad nauseum forever, if I can help it, just so that it's something that's available to you. Excuse me. All right, so on the side here, you're gonna see a couple of different tabs, a couple of different options. The discussions, it's kind of a hit or miss. Sometimes I have teachers that will use it lots, and sometimes I have teachers that don't use it at all. So I would, if it were me, I would recommend coming here when you have questions. That way you have the brains of 88 other or 87 other members to kind of pick when you are looking for ideas. It's not possible for us to gather together the way we usually would, or to have roundtables. And so this way you can kind of post a discussion, ask some questions, get some feedback. I'll be there to moderate and to put in my 2 cents too, but that way you also have access to those other folks who are boots on the ground. And I would absolutely encourage you to use that discussions board, especially this year, just because it's such a mixed bag of who we have that's training it. We're all the way across the district. So having that distance, I think being able to use the discussion board is going to be helpful for us. So anyway, just something to think about. It's in there. Most of the time, you're going to be down here on this tab, on the resources tab. This is where essentially everything is housed. So typically you wouldn't see these first 2 folders. Typically it would start with the front matter and go down to the resources and competency logs, and just a million other things down here in strategies. I know I've shown you guys this before. You have a ton of resources for content and then a ton of resources for pedagogy. So there's really lots to explore in there. And if you're interested in finding out a little bit more about that, like I said, you can go back to last year's training. All of it is in there. I know that some of you have questions about the WISE exam, the pre-test, and whether or not we're testing at all. What I can tell you is that our plan is to test the WISE exam this year. We actually just wrapped up the summer, the remote testing for WISE for the students who took econ and personal finance this summer, and it actually went pretty well. It went a lot smoother than I expected. We didn't run into nearly as many technical difficulties. So I definitely believe that's something that we're going to pursue. So you should hear a little more about the specifics about how that is going to work logistically and how it's going to work with 4x4s, because I have to tell you at this point in time, which is August 2020, I don't have those answers yet. We're I think a little bit of building the plane as we fly it, as we're going through a really unique situation. So, but just know that that's the intent, and as soon as we've got a little bit more information, really that'll probably come from Ann Jeanette, who's our testing guru, but I will make sure that that gets out to you. So right now, what you'll see at the very top here is a folder that says training and updates. And this houses right now just the training from last year. And what I've done is I've set up a YouTube channel that has all of the trainings for business and information technology programs. So as those get recorded, they all get uploaded onto that channel. And then I just share the link, the YouTube link, out here, and it just seems to work a little bit easier than trying to upload the MP4s here and upload the YouTube links. And I really don't think that you need duplicates like that, to be honest. I think you guys are fine. Everybody knows how to use YouTube. Eventually something will replace it, I'm sure, but until that point in time, there's a link. That's where everything will be. So once this recording is completed, I'll make sure that it gets compressed or converted, whatever else needs to happen, and then I'll upload it in this exact same spot. So all the trainings will be in there, and I'll make a note that this is a 2020 training and that it includes the updates for the virtual learning start. Below that is probably the thing that you're more interested in, and that is the virtual learning support for the start of school. So the focus is really on the first 9 weeks, although if I had to guess, I would say we're gonna get to about week 5 and we'll probably be working on the second 9 weeks and putting that up there as well. And then just kind of depending on how things are going, we'll be continuing to either put things in there or shifting them around. So essentially there's not a whole lot in there that's new, but what it is curated even more so than what we usually would have. So in here, you're going to have your pacing guide, links to competencies, and then those online resources. So a couple of things that I want to point out, and I'll get to the pacing guide part here in just a minute, but the very first folder in here, the course competencies and workplace readiness, for those of you who have used Verso before or gone to our CT resource, our state website, you may have noticed that in the late spring, early summer, it crashed. I can't remember the exact phrasing, but basically it was like a massive failure, and they are now having to revamp the whole thing and I think actually create a new site. Like what they had up there is not going to come back. It's going to be reinvented. In the meantime, it looks a little different. So where we used to be able to go into Verso and click on different things, now they have everything in a PDF. So I want to go ahead and click on this real quick so that you can see what that looks like. So, you know, when you used to go to Verso, you'd see the Econ and Personal Finance, and you could click on that link and then it would pull everything up and you could download Word or Excel, student competency records and things like that. That's none of that is, that's not how it looks anymore. This is how it looks. What it will take you to instead is this PDF that just kind of rolls through a few things. Uh-oh, where's the rest of my, it's not loading. Of course it's not, because technology, right? Okay, well, what you usually see down here when it's loaded properly are all of the competencies for the course. And the one thing that I wanted to show you, unfortunately, it's not showing up in here because you can't see the competencies, is that the first 38 competencies are no longer in here. All of those are related to workplace readiness skills and industry information. And so they've actually, one of the changes that they made to our state competencies for our classes this year is that they took those out and made them separate. So it hasn't changed. The expectation that those are still things that we cover in each CTE course, that hasn't changed, but the way that they formatted it for the state website has. So hopefully this will be up at some point and we'll be able to show you. In the meantime though, let me show you what the rest of it looks like. So the workplace readiness skills competencies now has essentially its own PDF. And so, like I said, they're all still there. We still have to do this. And what they've done is they've just separated it out into its own document. So it'll still give you the explanations. It still gives you a link to where you can get more information or where you can find resources for it, but it's all just in one document rather than being in every single one of our courses as the first 38 competencies. The other thing that I wanted to mention to you about the workplace readiness skills, and I don't know if you've ever used this before, but I really felt like this was a good year to highlight this and to start taking advantage of some of these resources that we have. And that's the CTEX website. So CTEX has been around for a while. They did revamp and kind of update their stuff, which is nice. But it's actually a page that has a bunch of other stuff available on it. So it does have other websites, not just from Virginia, but from other states that do the same thing we do, that have, you know, workplace readiness skill type things that they're doing for their career and technical education courses. So it's got some stuff in there, and I went ahead and put the link in here just to make your life a little easier. So rather than having to drink from a fire hose and go, what was that one she was talking about? Where is that stuff again? I just gave you the link to the CTEX website, and then from there, you can click all over everywhere. So they've got learning modules, which I think might be helpful, especially when we're doing this stuff from home, especially when you have stuff that there's a lot of asynchronous learning that's happening. So I think that might be helpful for you. The ESCR website that Nevada has put out, we've been using that for years for stuff. And I think they even actually have an app that you can download on your phone that's got stuff, but there are a ton of different things. There are videos and movies and definitions and questions. And there's just a ton of different things that are in here that I think would be helpful for you when you're trying to figure out, okay, how am I going to incorporate this when I have students, we're starting from home and then we're going to transition back to school, but then if things get bad, we're going to transition back home. And what about my kids that are staying home for the entirety of the first semester? This will give you hopefully it'll make your life a little bit easier, and you can kind of find some of those modules that you want the kids to use, and find a way to incorporate that into your class that's not requiring you to reinvent the wheel. So that's that. All right, so I'm going to come back over here. I do not have your pacing guide uploaded here because I forgot to do that before I started this recording, but that's okay. I'm going to show you the one that I pulled up, and then I'll upload this after we're all done. Essentially, it'll look like this. This was one of the trainings that I did earlier today. So yours, rather than saying Foundations of Creative Coding, yours would say Economics and Personal Finance, and it's really focused on the first 9 weeks. So the idea is that we're kind of looking at what you would typically cover in those units, and those are going to be the topics. So the topic is really whatever the unit is that you're in. That's kind of how I set it up. And then what I've done in this column is just place the resources that you're going to be using. And then we go through kind of what those resources are, as well as the competencies that are being covered. Now, like I said, I know that you all, I think, are shifting from your typical year-long course to a 4x4. So you'll finish 2 semesters in 1 semester, I think is how that works. And so you'll have students who are taking the entire course over the course of a semester. I think that's how that works. So this is going to be a little bit different from the pacing that you would see in our regular resources. So the one that is uploaded, you may see, is a little bit different. I think that we're going to probably have to tweak that a little bit when we get to the semester's time frame. This is another reason why I think that communication, while it's always important, it's especially vital for us to be able to communicate together. So when you guys are going through some of this, once we get into a rhythm in the fall, especially, when you see stuff that is working really well, or pacing in particular that may or may not be working, go ahead and let's start a discussion on the discussion board about what that looks like, so that we can get some feedback and some input from folks who are teaching this across the district, which means we're getting a really nice cross-section of what's happening in different homes and what are the challenges that teachers and students are coming up against. And I think that will better help us to tweak the pacing for this, because I know that I've got some folks over at Renaissance Academy who have taught this 4x4 before, but I know that most of my other teachers have not. So that'll be something that's new. But anyway, when we're all done with this, I'll go ahead and pull the other one up and upload it. But this is essentially what it looks like. It's only going to cover the first 9 weeks at this point. And then, like I said, as we need to, we can always add additional weeks in there, beginning with week 10. So inside our virtual learning support resources, there were 3 in particular that I wanted to highlight that I think will be helpful. I do want to reiterate that there is no program, there's no software that can replace you as an educator. Your students, they still need you. They still need your passion, they still need your pedagogy, they still need your leadership and your support. So there's no computer program or website that I'm going to share with you that will replace that. All these are really intended to do is to help heavily support a virtual learning environment that's brand new to all of us. So most folks who have taught this before are somewhat familiar with EverFi. EverFi has a ton of different courses that they teach. It's not just personal finance. That kind of was their bread and butter. So that was kind of where they started, but they branched out into a ton of different things. One of the things that you may have heard, and this doesn't have to do with EverFi in particular, but I did think of it just now, so I want to make sure I mention it. The school district is transitioning, if you haven't already heard from your site administration, is transitioning from the Clever platform that we've been using to a ClassLinks platform. And you'll get more information and training from your site probably from the ITS and the TST and super users and site admin, probably a combination of all of those. But essentially, the Clever platform, if you're not familiar with it, it used to be a platform that you could go to your own school's website and get right into. It had a whole lot of resources and listings, books, and portals basically to get you to resources that you use for your students. It automatically recognizes you as a teacher, and it populates your classes because your kids are tied to you, and made life really, it kind of simplified a lot of those things for teachers. So the idea when they shifted to ClassLinks is that it's going to do essentially the same thing, but it's got a few other bells and whistles, and I think a greater capacity to link up with like our learning management system, which is Schoology currently. So I think there were a few things in there that made them make that decision to make the shift this summer. You will hear more about that from your site admin, but I did want to let you know that I have put in the request to have these things that we used to have on Clever, on our Clever portal, like Everfi. I have put in a request for that to be on ClassLinks as well. So you should be able to see that and have access to it and get your classes populated as you choose. But if there are issues with them getting started, and again, this is being recorded in August of 2020, so you know, hopefully in a month or so all of that will be resolved. But if you find that you've got some issues, I've put in this very first link information about our vendor representative, and his name, our current representative is Peter Kalpin. He's super helpful. I had a chance to meet with him this summer, so I put his email and his phone number. He said he's glad to help you get started. So if for whatever reason it's not being easy for you, you just reach out and I'm sure that he will get you started. So this is just kind of a link to show you how to sign up and how all of this, you know, your classes and stuff are put together. But like I said, you can also call Peter and he'll gladly help you. So the bread and butter of Everfi is the financial literacy course for high school. And this is something that it's been around for a while, and they just revamped it in 2020. So they've got some updated things, which I love when that happens. And essentially it's a module-based system that talks about all these different topics related to financial literacy. And Everfi has done a really great job of aligning their objectives with the standards specifically for the Commonwealth of Virginia. So that's one of the reasons why it's something that's so highly rated for us and why it's something that we endorse using, because we know that it's tied directly to that, which means it's also tied directly to the WISE financial literacy objectives, which is our hope is that the students are going to be able to earn that. So plus it's really kind of interesting. If you've never had a chance to go through it, I would say sign up as a student just to kind of see what they're seeing. It's really kind of cool. And Everfi does a great job of reinvesting in its students and reaching out to school divisions to find out exactly what's needed to better help support the students and better help them become financially literate. To that end, one of the new things that they've rolled out, new courses that they've rolled out, is the Everfi Marketplaces Investing Basics course. One of the things that you've probably noticed if you have taught econ and personal finance for any length of time is that oftentimes the area where students struggle is the investing part. And that partly is because a lot of times as adults, that's where we struggle. So when you have teachers who maybe don't fully understand investing, it's kind of tough for their students to understand investing. So it just seemed to be an all-around area that could use a little more focus. And so from conversations like that, not just with Virginia Beach, but with other school districts as well, came this addendum course essentially that focuses specifically on investing basics, which I love. So that's why I put this in here, is that you can actually use both of these. I would encourage you not use one or the other, but I would use both. And they're not super long. You can chunk them out however you choose. You can use them as an opener, a closer, a remediator, but I would definitely look for a way to incorporate this into the work that you're doing. And I haven't gone through the investing basics one, but I have had a chance to kind of peruse it, and it looks really cool. So I think your kids are gonna like it. Hopefully you guys will like it. You'll have to give me some feedback and let me know. One of the things that EverFi offers, and I know that you all have been inundated with Zoom calls and Google Meets and every other way that you could possibly be learning virtually, and you're probably ready to never be on a webcam again. That said, one of the things that EverFi has introduced are webinars to kind of help with some of this. And one of the latest webinars that they have on there is about remote learning, specifically using their resource, EverFi. So I went ahead and put that link up there because I think it's something that's helpful. From a teacher's perspective, I would say a lot of this feels like drinking from a fire hose, because there's a problem, and then everybody has a solution, and they want to bring it to the table, and they want to share it with you. And, you know, it's all coming from a really great place. But as an educator who is in a classroom trying to follow what the site admin is trying to do and are asking you to do, and get everything ready for your students, and you know, catch up on whatever that third or fourth prep is that you're doing that you've never taught before. I think it can be a lot to have all of this information all at once. So I would say take what you need, take what's necessary, and then you can come back and look at the rest later. So don't feel like you have to know all of this and understand all of this and attend all of this all at once. You take what you need, you chunk it out, take a little bite, figure out what you need to do, especially with this, because we have so many different content areas that teach this particular course. I know that this isn't always the content that you're used to teaching. So I have family and consumer science teachers who teach this. I have math and teachers or social studies teachers who teach this. So it's not always just business and information technology teachers. So just know that if this is not something that's familiar to you, and this isn't just the finance part, the economics part as well for my teachers maybe who are unfamiliar with that, you just take the little bits that you got, start with that, and you can always come back to the rest of it. It's going to be here. So, and of course, you're always welcome to reach out to me, and you've got a certainly ton of other teachers who are out there who are going to be rooting for you and happy to help and share what they have. So, all right, that's enough about that. This is their remote learning webinar that they put out. They've got a bunch of other webinars. I would definitely encourage you to take a peek at those. Down here at the bottom, I put a couple of PDFs, and as you go to the websites, there's lots of stuff for you to poke around in, but I just wanted to highlight these. And that was the course outline and the curriculum guide for both of those courses that I mentioned. So let me see if I can open this up. Who knows if anything's gonna work. Schoology was completely out earlier today. I wasn't even sure we were gonna be able to have our training today. All right, let me see if I can open this up so y'all can see this. So for all of the courses that EverFi offers, they have this course outline that they do. And this will kind of give you an idea. It's all broken down just like this. So this might be the name of the lesson. These are all the topics that it's going to cover right here. This will give you a basic description, and here are their objectives. So to me, this is something that helped me plan when I was doing my lesson plans. It helped me decide how I wanted to group certain concepts. And it also was helpful when my students were getting ready to take the WISE, and I needed that, maybe I knew that they were kind of, let's say, weak in budgeting. I could send them back to that lesson and just help them shore up some of those skills. So that was something that was really helpful. So both of those courses, all the courses they have, but the two that I suggest for our EPF class are the one for financial literacy and then the investing basics. But both of them have a course outline that looks like this. And then they both have a curriculum guide. So let me see if I can pull up the Marketplaces one just so you can see something a little bit different. Okay. Here we go. All right, so hopefully you guys can see this. Like I said, they both have the course outline and then they have the curriculum guide, which just kind of gives you some overview. So if you're looking for some specifics on about how much time this is supposed to take, how many modules do we have, what is this going to cover, how is it structured, this will give you some of that. And then it gives you a little more, it digs in a little bit deeper into each of those. And again, I always felt like this was really helpful when I was writing my lesson plans and I was trying to convey what it was I wanted my kids to know. This was always helpful to have. And to help with my planning. So I just wanted to highlight that because like I said, I know a lot of times you're getting a lot of information all at once, and this may not be something that you find until the end of next semester and you're like, wow, it would have been nice to know about that before. So just wanted to highlight that one for you. So that's EverFi. The other one that I wanted to highlight for you is Next Gen Personal Finance. And again, I know that most of you, if you have done some sort of EPF class before, are probably familiar somewhat with Next Gen Personal Finance, but it's just a really great website. It's so comprehensive and it's got a ton of information in here, and that's why I only put the link to the homepage in here, because I thought, gosh, I don't even know how else to do this and really give you guys the biggest picture. So Next Gen Personal Finance has curriculum broken down every which way you want it. So if you're looking for the semester course, they've got that. If you're looking for the full year course, they've got that. And everything is linked into Google Documents. In addition, they have professional development specifically from them. So they've got certification courses, all kinds of stuff for you. There's a whole community that you can join. The podcasts are really good in here, by the way. Tons of stuff that you could share out with your kids, things that are going to make them think, things that are going to kind of capture their interest. There are some great kind of hook things in there that I think are good. There's even some fun things that you could use to reward them, which I like. So, but let me go back to this curriculum here real quick, just to kind of show you the way that they have this set up. So, and this, by the way, I think I am logged in. So I mean, there is a process where you're going to have to say, yes, I'm a teacher, and they just confirm you're a teacher, and then you have access to everything. So just, you know, PS about that. If you go there and it's not showing you this, it may be because you just need to sign up as a teacher. And it's not a whole lot of hoops or anything that you need to go through. It's pretty straightforward. So, all right, so this is the course map that they give you for the semester course. So you'll notice they're still covering everything. It's just how are they gonna incorporate all of it. And they give you a link to the Google Doc and the course assessments. So you'll notice they've got a lot of stuff in here, including projects. So they've got some really cool things. And what I wanted to show you, let's see. Let's see if I can do the checking one in here. So see how it's got a bookmark for checking? This is the Unit 2 checking lesson plan. So if I want to go see the unit plan for this, I should be able to click on this and it's going to open up in a Google Drive. And this will give me the rest of the information, the specifics on the information for that lesson. So it gives me standards, it tells me about how long it's going to be, it gives me additional links for lesson guides and student activity packets, which, by the way, if you click on those, it'll do the same thing that this just did. It'll say, oh, it's a Google document, and you just click on that part. It gives you your objectives. And to me, it takes so much of the work out of you having to reinvent what other people have already done. You already know these are things that you want to, that you're going to need to cover. This gives you a great place to start. It doesn't mean that you're just going to plug and play. Like I said, your kids still need you, but it's got a lot of that already done. So anything that you want to plug into your course into Schoology, it doesn't have to stay in a Google Doc. You can turn it into your own quiz, or you can turn it into your own activity, or you can embed your own video in there, however you want to do it. So it's the options are still completely open to you. You are still in control of your class, but it just kind of breaks everything down for you. So like I said, I really recommend, out of all of the things that you could possibly use in a virtual environment, I really believe that EverFi and NextGen Personal Finance are great places to start. So rather than trying to jump from one resource to another resource to another resource, these are two that I would say, if you can only focus on one or two things, these are the one or two things that I would focus on, because I think that you're going to get the best bang for your buck out of these. And again, I would take some time, in your copious amounts of spare time, which teachers always have, right? I would take a little bit of time to poke through here, get signed up if you're not already signed up, and kind of plan your first 9 weeks out for however you would like to see that happen. And if you've got questions, or if there are projects or things that you want to work on that are outside of this, you can always go back to our discussion board and plug something in and say, hey, I have this idea and I want to be able to incorporate this into my class, but I'm not real sure how I want to do that. So, can we talk about that? And I think you guys can see the members. I'm not entirely sure, but the members list is right over here. So if you click on that, excuse me, you should be able to see anybody who is teaching this class. And I may need to go through and clear a few people out if we have folks who maybe aren't teaching it anymore. But any of these folks, I'm sure you could reach out to and say, hey, this is something I'm teaching, and here's something that I have a little bit of a question about. So I just want to see if maybe you'd be willing to collaborate. And by and large, those are folks who are going to be happy to help you. So the last thing that I want to share with you today is this e-readiness bundle. So most of my business teachers are familiar with BE Publishing because they've been around for years and they have all kinds of fun stuff in there, definitely things that we've purchased before. And this year, they've done a few upgrades and they have come out with this e-readiness bundle, which essentially has all of the different publications that they offer, so like the different texts and things that they offer, it's all under one umbrella under eReadiness. And if you buy a subscription, you can have access to all of them, not just one of them. So we decided that that was something that we wanted to do because it covered so many parts of business and information technology. It just covered a lot of content for us. So we felt like that was a good investment to make. So we're going to give that a shot. You'll notice on here that this is for the trial. Now, again, this recording is taking place in August of 2020. This access for this free trial is through the end of this month, August 31st of 2020. And that's why I put this up here. We do have this on order. We're just waiting for the subscription to actually populate. Once it does, I'll take all of this out and I'll put our subscription information in there. But in the meantime, I wanted you to be able to take advantage of the free access and also kind of go through and see what might be helpful for you, what you might want to use. So the reason I put this down as a resource for Econ and Personal Finance is because it does have some personal finance in there. Excuse me, it also has some things about business communications and career readiness. So it may or may not be appropriate for you all. I still think the EverFi and the NextGen Personal Finance are going to be by and far the better choices for you. But I did want you to know that you do have access to it, and you may as well, I mean, it's not going to cost you anything. You may as well go in there and see what they have and see if there's something that you might want to use. So I put all the information about how to access that free trial in there. And like I said, I'll swap that out for our actual subscription once we have that. So that's pretty much what I wanted to share with you today. Like I said, if you're brand new to the course and you're wanting to know a little bit more about what these other things are down here and are we using them, I would encourage you to go back to the other training that's listed up here, the link that'll take you through. It's about an hour plus of information, and I think it's totally worth it for you to do that. Folks, also know that you don't have to just stick to what you see in that virtual learning folder. You're still welcome to go down through the rest of the stuff. You're welcome to go through these resources. There's all kinds of good stuff in here. It's why it's in here in the first place. But just know that if you are looking for something that's going to help you, especially for the first 9 weeks, this is really where you're going to find that support. So, let me go ahead and stop sharing this so we can get back to where we were before. And I'm gonna check the chat, and it looks like we're doing okay right now. So I'm gonna stop the recording and not the meeting though. So thank you so much for your time, and I wish you the very best of luck. I hope you have a great year.